Welcome to the Non-Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Lampson. If this is your first time listening or your 50th time listening, this is what to expect on this episode. We dive into the concepts of developing your leadership toolbox. Why do you need this? You need this in any situation to help manage, lead, and control, and ultimately win. How do you do that? You can't use the same form of leadership in everything you do. So every episode, we dive into my leadership philosophy. We dive into the story and the background of the person we're talking to. And we also dive into some leadership traits I have accrued throughout the years. And then we also follow it up with a book review at the end. So you're getting a wide range of leadership topics and traits that you can add to your kit. So without further ado, let's go into the recap of this episode. And afterwards, if you love it, like it, share it, follow it, give us some feedback because we're only just getting started. On today's episode, I am joined with Aaron. He has been on the podcast before, but this episode focuses specifically on his journey from losing 200 plus pounds from 400 to about 197, joining the Army, what that journey was like. We give tons of just great tips and tricks to anybody out there who's looking to start a journey. Not just journey on physical fitness, but improving your life overall, pursuing a passion, pursuing a hobby, pursuing a goal. So without further ado, let's get into this episode and get started. What's up, everybody? Just like you heard in the intro, I'm Manny. I got my man, Aaron. Aaron's been on it before. Like I said, I'll even put his previous episode in the notes before. But today, I wanted to hear his story. So if you've listened to our episode, at the end, he mentions all this crazy stuff. Like, oh, I lost this much weight. Oh, I did this. And I was just like, oh my God, dude. And then after, I think is when you were sending me all the articles, you were like, send me this one and send me that one. I was like, dang, dude. And so today I wanted to hear from him, like how it started, where it is now, what's next, what you did, what didn't work, who's there, because that's what I love about podcasting is while mine has been primarily around like military and leadership and development, fitness is development, fitness is leadership. Focusing on yourself, right? To be selfless, you have to be selfish, is leadership. And so to hear somebody's story is what most people want to hear because honestly, we love hearing the stories because for some of us, it's to let us know like it's possible, right? Like no matter where we're going through or what's going on or where we are, we can get it done. So Aaron, I'll let you start it and feel free to take it wherever you want. I'll throw in questions if we got to, but we'll look right around that 30 to 45 minute time and just get some good info.
Okay. Manny, thanks for having me on here again. I'm excited to share my journey and stuff. It's something that I've actually I post about a lot and try to preach, but it's one of those things of sometimes when I post about it, it gets lost in the translation of the social media world, if we all know that. So my journey, I would have to say, started back in 2000 mid-June 2019. So I've been a little over 5 years with my transformation and stuff like that. But what led up to it was a couple, I believe I mentioned in the first podcast, I had a couple setbacks in 2018. It was my April, my mother passing away in October, November, I tore 2 tendons in my shoulder. And so those were kind of like my little setbacks. And I mean, I went down not a deep spiral, but I kind of was one of those. I was using food as a comfort and stuff and just trying to just scoot by in the fitness aspect of it and stuff like that. And then around June, I was helping at my local gym, and that's when I decided to step on the scale, and that scale read 400 pounds. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, I have to change something or I'm going to end up like my mother, to where she was always heavy, on the heavy side, and I was going to end up around 40, 50 years old, or younger than that in a hospital bed fighting for my life. So, with in the beginning of that, with the help of a buddy of mine, Tim, who is still with me, I actually have two coaches. I have Tim and I have Jeremy Mullins. Um, they are two great friends, two great human beings. Um, they're both in the military, so they kind of have seen my journey from losing the weight to joining the military, and someone that I've been able to talk to and kind of learn from them. And it was in the beginning, it was Tim that kind of had my back and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you under my wing and kind of just kind of kick you in the butt and get you started." And it was one of those. He gave me this saying that said, "Keep doing this. If you don't, well, and you go back to your old ways and you gain all this weight back, we're no longer friends." And it's kind of like one of those like he. That's how. That's how kind of I have that mentality as I'm helping people. It's like we can. It's like the old verbiage. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can kind of tell them how to drink, but it's are they gonna be willing to drink? But yeah, in the beginning it was a long. I lost. I went from 400 to 360, and then COVID happened. And for a couple months, I kind of stuck at that 360 and stuff. And then um, Tim, who kind of helped me in the beginning, there's always been there. He started getting his nutrition um, degree through the military, but online, and he kind of used me as like a guinea pig to kind of, hey, we're going to here's a set of here's a calories to lose 20 pounds. So every pound I lost, the calories went down and stuff. So soon as I lost, soon as I lost, as soon as I lost 20 pounds, he would redo the um, calories and stuff, and then we go from there and stuff like that. So I've always had that, and just it's helped. And then when I lost 100 pounds, I started learning more about the protein aspect, but not much about the protein aspects, which we teach other people calories, proteins, water, and stuff. So it was one of those. I was taking in protein, and I was still hitting my calories that I needed to for the day or for the days. But it was one of those. I slowly and stuff kept moving the scale in the right direction. And then over time, it was, I believe, about mid COVID, I hit 150 pounds lost. And then about so 2019 to 2022, I lost April 2022, which was the first time I got to go up to first form, is I lost 200 pounds. So it was one of those things that I lost a total of 207 pounds, got down to 193, and that was mid 2022. And then I kept it off for a little bit, and then just slowly started rebuilding the because I lost 207 pounds. I was eating the right amount of protein, or thought I was eating the right amount of protein, but I lost muscle with it. So it was one of those things. I was I was skinny, but I was like that skinny fat.
Yeah.
So it was at that point I switched things around, and I still work with Tim and still work with Jeremy as and just slowly rebuilding and stuff. Got up I believe I got up to two I think it was 220 before I left for the military.
Okay.
And stuff. So I put on about 27 pounds, but I put on muscle and stuff like that, and I started noticing it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's where it led me to. Um, it's kind of led me through this whole journey. I also was trying to, in the process, about a year and a half into it, I was in the process of trying to join the military too. So it was one of those things I had a lot on my plate, and I was trying to lose weight, trying to join the military, working, and all that stuff. So it was one of those, and then with the COVID, it was with gyms shut down and stuff. So it was one of those things. I kind of look at people and I'm like, I lost weight during a pandemic. Gyms were shut down, and they're like, how'd you do that? And I was like, oh, well, I just went and worked outside. I ran. I did body weight movements outside, and that's the most free gym I ever tell them. I'm like, if you can't get a gym membership, I'm like, probably not far from your house. There's a school track. There's a playground, something like that. You can do pull-ups. You can do push-ups. You can run. It's one of those things you can find anything.
Yeah, I'll ask a couple questions then that I already have written down. One thing I'll state for those listening: Aaron didn't wait for the perfect time to start. A lot of people think there's like this perfect time to start a weight loss journey, right, or something like that. Like you have to wait for the stars align, or no vacations are going to happen, or like I have all my meals planned. You started it in one of the most difficult times of your life, and that's what people should realize. You have to own it. You have to control it, because the hardest part for most people is just starting, because they think it's not the right time, or I have a holiday coming up, or I just went through a breakup, or an injury or something like that. You guys, listen, just start. And then you also didn't rush the process. A lot of people try to rush the weight loss process, where if they don't see the 10 pounds in like 3 days, or they don't see the fat just fall off in a month, they stop. So with you being new in that journey, how did you look at that? How did you know it was going to take a long time, or what gave you that comfortability, or what allowed you to continue knowing it was going to be a long journey?
So this wasn't my first rodeo. In the past, I actually did a 12-week weight loss thing through a golf course locally, and it was one of those. I think I went from 320 pounds to like 270 in 12 weeks, but it was one of those. I was wearing a sauna suit. I was doing cardio. I was only eating like 1,500 calories. I was starving myself. And I guess how how I put my mindset to this is I saw the 40 pounds come off in the beginning, and it was kind of like okay, I could do this. And then the first couple months of COVID, scales didn't move, but the numbers didn't go up. And it was like, okay, so we're going to have this moment to kind of just reset things, and then we're coming back into it. So I sat there, and I told myself that there's going to be days the scale doesn't move, but I'll feel great. There's going to be days I may lose. One thing Tim taught me and Jeremy taught me is some days you may lose 4 or 5 pounds. Or some weeks you may lose 4 or 5 pounds. But other weeks you're going to lose 1 to 2 pounds. And it's one of those, even a 0.5. Don't look for the big numbers. If you see the small numbers, that's the great thing. And it's one of those that you're losing it to where it's going to kind of be beneficial and everything like that. Because I mean, like we said, people lose. Like I was reading this thing the other day, and I mean, I'm stoked for the guy that lost over 300 pounds, but it took, I think it was under 14 months. And I was like, how is that? I mean, that's good, but how is that sustainable? Because that's so quick. I mean, it took me 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, yeah, you can lose weight very fast, but it doesn't let your body adjust and stuff like that. To where people are like, you lost 200 pounds, but you don't have excess skin. Yeah, because I lost 1 to 2 pounds here and there, and it kind of let my everything kind of start reforming itself.
Yeah.
So it was one of those. It was a mindset that I had to teach myself that it's, like I tell people, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's gonna take time. I mean, they want to get to point A to point B in 100 miles an hour, but I mean, it's like, I'll say this too. It's like the old story of the tortoise and the hare. The slow person is gonna win.
Yeah, the slow person usually knows, what they're doing along the way. They're not rushing the process. They're more built for the long term.
Yep.
It's a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people mention, and I think Andy says it too. There's a lot of sprints in the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand the long term goal, but within it, there's still times to move, grind, work. Yep. But you got to build yourself comfortably throughout the long race.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'll put this as an aspect. I think I got down in the middle. I was doing a challenge, and I didn't submit my photos and stuff like that correctly. But it's kind of like what we do, those 8-week challenges. Yeah. That's a sprint right there. But after that 8-week challenge, you may have a month off. Keep slowly going. That month off to 2 months off before the next challenge is not the time to, okay, I did good on that challenge. I lost 20 pounds here and there. I'm just on a setback. No, you're still working. You're still going. It's one of those, I mean, I was taught it's a lifestyle. It's something that I've built into my mind and stuff. I used to be real lenient, strict on what I could eat and stuff like that. But now, last night, I went out to eat with the family, and my kid had chicken strips and fries. My wife had a BBLT, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and I had a chicken quesadilla with double chicken, protein and bacon, fats, and then you got your carbs. It's like one of those things. I had that, and I wasn't mad because I knew I was getting my protein, my carbs, my fats, and I make sure, I'll go 1 to 2 nights a week out to eat, but the rest of the time I'm fixing my own things. And it's
all about moderation and control. Mm-hmm. So explain to those listening who may not know what macronutrients are or macros. I'll put you on the spot here for some education. Because, you mentioned it like it's super easy, like, oh, just hit this many calories or eat this much protein. But for those listening to that are just like, I don't know what that is. How did you learn about it at the time? What have you learned throughout your journey? You already talked about it, which is key. When you lost the weight, you lost both muscle and fat. So you sort of became a smaller version of yourself where you're like, man, I don't look like the guy I want to look like at 250 or 200 or 193. So talk a little bit about that.
It's kind of, so in the beginning, I'll tell people I lost my weight eating. Yes, there's that saying, you can't outwork a bad diet. I think I did outwork somewhat of a bad diet because I would be driving into work and I'd be eating a bag of Funyuns and some Oreos. I would have a Lunchable at lunch because where I worked, we were so close to a Walmart. I would go to Walmart and I would get like a protein drink, some Cheetos, and a Lunchable. And I would go back and I would I would add up how much those calories were. Like, I wasn't looking, I was looking more at in the beginning, I was looking more at the calories than the fats, proteins, carbs, and stuff. So it was kind of like one of those things of, if it fits in your calorie counting. Yeah. I was calorie counting. So the thing was, I was allotted this many calories if I worked out and burned 500 calories. But if I didn't work out and burn 500 calories, I subtracted 500 calories off of, say, 2240. So I was taking in 1800 to 1700 calories. So in the beginning, I would just follow if it fit in my calories. Then I started diving into more of the macros and stuff like that, and trying to figure out, all right, what do I need to be focusing on? And Tim kind of was like, hey, I can teach you a little bit of that, but do you want to? And I was like, sure. So, and then bringing Jeremy in, it was one of those things that kind of reassured everything. So the bigger picture, if you want to lose weight and keep your muscle, you're going to have to focus on your protein, calories, and stuff. If not, yes, you can still lose weight, but you're not going to keep your muscles. You're going to do what I did. Become a skinny fat. If I would have, in the beginning of my stages, concentrated more on the protein, I would have kept more muscle. But what I guess I kind of took a curve around that question, but it's micronutrients are more of your protein, fat, carbs, and calories. And what I look at now, and I try to teach people, is if they have I try to teach them, hit your calories, hit your protein, hit your movement, and then we'll adjust from there. And I also teach them, if they sit in the office all day, you want to take in more fats because you're not burning carbs. If you're say like me, who works out a ton, and like Manny, who wakes up in the morning and goes to the gym, or wakes up in the morning and goes to the track for a 6-mile ruck and stuff like that. Me and you want to focus on more of the carbs and stuff like that, because we're not in a sedentary environment and stuff like that. Yes, we may sit in the office, we may sit down, but throughout the day we're moving around.
What's key that you mentioned is you were learning along the way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know one of my traits is always be learning. Well, it's not just my trait, it's within the First Form community as well. You didn't wait to gather all the information and then start, which is a huge, I can't remember what is that concept called? Oh, dang it. Don't bug me. But you didn't wait to get all the 100% data and then execute. You just started with the calories, you adjusted, you learned, you made it, you figured out what was a little better, you focused on the protein, then you figured out about macros, but you kept going. Yep. That's what I need people to realize. You don't have to have all the info before you start. Or what is it? Paralysis by analysis, something like that. I think it's what it's called. You try to get all the info before you start something, but it takes forever to start it.
It's kind of like writing a thesis or something like that. You try to get all the data before you do it, and then you start doing it, and then you're like, stuff starts changing in your head and stuff like that. And then you're kind of, in the military term, you kind of got to call a frago and be like, no, we're going to change this and do that and this and this. And it's one of those things of, you always got to be, I mean, like we said, always got to be learning, always got to be, always got to be learning, be teachable, and always have that mentality of it's going to suck, but just keep going because the way I look at it now is I'm a Swiss Army knife. I have all these things that I can teach people and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I'm working with a couple of my unit people to help lose weight, and they've approached me and they've been like, hey, you come highly recommended. We got this one soldier that fell height and weight and fell tape and stuff like that. Can you help him? And then I was approached by another person. Hey, I want to keep this muscle, but I want to tone down. And I took them aside and I kind of made a game plan. And I said, this was last drill with her. I made a game plan. I said, execute this for a month. We'll reconvene back at the next drill and see. We'll take it back to the whiteboard and we'll see what we need to change and stuff like that. And I kind of gave her an outline and stuff. So it's one of those things of when I bring on people or when I'm willing to teach people, I want them to be open-minded and realize, hey, it worked for me, but we're going on a 2-3 week, possibly a month of, let's see how this works. If we don't see anything, then we're going to change. We're going to throw a frago out there, and we're going to change what we did.
Yeah, it was great that you brought up. You have to give time to change. You know, in the nutrition world, like we already mentioned, people are going to expect change to happen fast. It doesn't work like that. It takes, I would say, 4 months roughly for your body just to adjust to new macros or adjust to a calorie count. You know, because if you think about that 4 months is changing the last maybe 10 years of your eating habits. So it's a long adjustment for your body to get used to. You also mentioned you were listening to people. You know, you didn't just do this journey on your own. You were open to suggestions. You were open to coaches. You were open to feedback, which is a huge part of the journey. And you also talked about once you were learning it, you were teaching it to other people. So that's what is a huge part of the journey, right, is teaching it to other people. When you can teach it to people, it sort of helps you understand it more. So like you said, when you were on your journey, you were getting results. You were helping other people started coming to you and you were able to teach it to them. So you didn't just like have it end with you. A lot of people will do that. They'll go on their journey and they'll do things and they'll sort of just like keep it to themselves, you know, like people be like, oh, I heard you lost like 100 pounds. Like, yeah. And it's like, hey, you got a secret. Don't keep it. I hate secrets. You know, like, what'd you do? You know, because other people are waiting for those success stories, waiting for those journeys so they can start their own. So it's great to see people coming up to you and being like, hey, Aaron, like, I know you did this. I know you did that. And then you're learning, you're teaching them, you're helping them get that info. So that's good there. So what's next? what's on the agenda for, I guess, a short-term goal and then maybe some long-term goals for you as far as what you've done, what you've seen, letting people know like, hey, this isn't the end, right? Like this is sort of the beginning.
Short-term goals. I mean, I'm working toward just becoming a better person, helping better. I mean, it is a short and long term, but helping as many people get results that we can. I mean, it's one person at a time. We that's how we first form right there. One person at a time. We're changing the world. But it was um, I'm looking at possibly trying to get involved on the nutrition and health. Well, the nutrition and health side of the military. I got some fillers out there that hopefully something will happen. If they don't, I'll keep helping my soldiers in my unit and keep beating my feet, man.
Yeah, what's it called in the Army? It's like H2I.
H2F, holistic to fitness, and my coach is a big component in it. Jeremy Mullins is a big component in H2F, and I got a couple people that have fillers out there. Just see if I can find something remotely and stuff like that. And then my just being setting examples to my child and my soon to be next child who we're expecting in January.
Yeah, now you just got to put in even more work.
yeah. Got to find that double stroller so I can. Yeah, it's kind of like I'll throw that out there. Me and you need to find a way we can challenge Ben Barker to the Alpha Dad.
I know. Yeah, for sure.
But a long-term goal is just like I have a vision board, and the vision board is to work remotely for First Form and help keep going. Help my buddy Tim with his two companies, Black Arrow Group, and it's now changed to Train Confident, but I'll send Black Arrow Group and then Real Operator Challenge is his two companies. Both help train people and stuff like that. We have non-military and military members that we help train, and just help him with that, and then become at the time that it needs to become a good NCO, and just become a good NCO and work my way up.
Yeah, I was just on a call with a gentleman yesterday in San Antonio in the Army. I think he is an H2F person for his battalion or unit, if I say it right. He's looking to cross-train into the officer side, Air Force-wise, because in the Air Force now, we have this program called OST. It's Occupational Strength. No, it's like on-site. I don't know. Anyways, we're building like strength conditioning units for a squadron. So it consists of a strength conditioning coach, a PT, and a physical, or that is a PT. But anyways, he wants to change into that on the officer side. So I put him in contact with the major at our base that runs our OST to see if he wants to make that jump from enlisted Army to Air Force officer. But that's what he does right now in the Army down in San Antonio. And so that's where I remember talking about that because we were just talking about it yesterday. One thing I want to bring up that you talked about, which I think is huge for people to realize, your 1 year and long-term goals isn't just one goal. It's like multiple. And I just covered that on my last podcast, where you have to have these other aspects of your life pushing you forward to like one big goal at the top. You have your First Form, you have your military, you have working with other companies, your passions, but you can pick and choose throughout your year on which one you want to focus on. And eventually it all leads towards the end goal. So for those out there listening, I think that's a huge component to taking that next step is finding the passions through multiple aspects of your life, and sometimes you can consider like personal, financial, spiritual, like those areas, having them, like job, passion, those are all areas. But that was one thing listening to you talk. I was like, man, this is a pretty common thing that I've had with people is they have all these other endeavors where it's helping them balance the day because they're not just focused on one thing.
Oh yeah, it was like I'll say this, one of my ultimate goals, so in the military we have, on the range we have 50, 150, 300-yard target. That's as our, in first form it's 30, 60, 90. 30, what do you want to do? 30 days, what do you want to do? 60 days, what do you want to do? 90 days. So what I tell people is I'll say this, for instance, my 300-yard goal has always been the military. My dad was in the military. I had uncles, I had cousins in the military, and it was kind of like one of those things of I want to follow in those footsteps. So it was one of those things of all good things take time. And I mean, when I was 18, I wasn't ready, and it was finally, I was 35. I worked hard. I showed my like working toward losing all this weight, and it finally, I had the door that finally opened, and I ran right through that door, and it was kind of like that 300-yard goal checked. Now my other 300-yard goal, other than the helping other companies and helping first form and stuff like that, is I want 20 years in the military, so I'll be 56 when I hit 20. And if my body allows me to, that's a 300-yard goal right there. Now, if my body doesn't allow me to, my 50-yard target is just do my 6 years and get out. But it's one of those things of you can't have just that one goal. Or I'll take it this way. You got to have A, B, C, D plan. Because in the military life, and the way I've learned about it, nothing goes to plan. Nothing goes to plan. You got to have, I mean, planning for a mission. I mean, you're a major now. I mean, when I see you and we're both in uniform, it's going to have to, but it's one of those things. When you write something up, you always have in the back of your head, it's not going to go as planned. You got to have that. You got to have that B, C, D plan of, hey, A might not happen, we're going to B. B might not happen, we'll go to C, and stuff like that. So it's one of those things. You got to have many avenues.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of good expressions that come to mind. Like enemy always has a vote, right? That's like a big Army term. You got to have contingency plans. You got to have backups. I just talked about it recently. Like when I went through my TAC PO selection, in the back of my mind, I still had backup plans if I didn't make it. But was I thinking about those through the process? No. I was focused on achieving that goal. But I still had these like little life preservers right back there just in case I fell off the ship. I knew where I was going. And so it's always good to have those. Now, as we get close to wrapping it up here, what were some of the struggles you had through your weight loss journey? So if somebody is getting ready to start one and they hit these speed bumps, what are some easy like tips and tricks you can give them?
There were times that I would gain 1 pound. There were times I would never lose weight for that week. There were times I've lost maybe 0.2 pounds. And I may have got discouraged, but I didn't sit there and was like, well, that's the end of it. I'm done. I just was like, well, I've got to work harder. I got to work harder this week. What I tell people is don't expect it overnight. You're going to have to work your butt off. You're going to have to put in the work to see the effort. Just be prepared to, it's going to take time. It's going to be emotional. It's going to test you. And one thing I tell them is if they keep a good mindset and do the game plan that we write out, you'll see results. You'll be good. You'll be good. And it's one of those things I also tell people. I'm like, you can always. Okay, so I treat it kind of like my life's the windshield. Where I was at 400 pounds is in the rearview mirror. I look a lot in that rearview mirror, not much, but I look at how far I came, how far all these obstacles I jumped over to get to where I'm at. And I use those as kind of like the wood to keep the fire burning in me and stuff like that. So it's one of those you can always look back. Like I have like on my Instagram, I have where I can see where I'm 400 pounds, and I look at that, and people when I show them that, they're like, "No, that's not you," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's me. That was me. I was at that point." And I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and he goes, "How do you?" I'll say this real fast. How do you find time to do all this stuff? How do you find time? How do you find the energy to do to work out? How do you find the energy to lose this weight and stuff like that? And I looked at him and said, dude, so other than the caffeine, screaming freedom, other than the first form caffeine and stuff like that, or megawatt, it's just all the goals I've accomplished and all this whole journey. And it's one of those things of we all have the same 24 hours. You have to be willing to put in the effort. You can block out. I guarantee if I look at a busy person, you can block out 45 to 60 minutes a day. Here's the thing is how I can do that. I can say you can wake up earlier. You can do 30 minutes. 30 minutes walk. 30 minutes of work, even if it's body weight movement. And then when you get home, right before you go to bed or right before you do that, do another 30 minutes. You don't have to do it in one time of the day. You can split it up. And it's just it's people are like, I don't have time. That's the biggest cop out right there. I don't have time. You do have time. It's you are you willing to put into work? Are you willing to do what it needs to get the results? I can another thing is that I can open the door for you, but you have to be willing to walk through that door.
Yeah, so man, just to recap, you have to start. You have to walk through the door. It's not a fast journey. One of the things I love what you said, and I use it to this day too, that rear view mirror motivation, like when I was 217 pounds and I was bigger, like I use that as my fire, like one of my pinned posts on my top 3 on my Instagram is the middle one of me squatting 510 pounds when I was 217 pounds. And then there's a clip after it now where I'm like 180 and I'm squatting like 185, 225.
Yeah.
Now, I use that as my fuel and motivation. So the windshield, the rear view, it's there. But man, for those listening, some of the stuff we just hit is it's not complicated. You have to trust the process, and you just have to start. I think that's why I love just talking to you, man, because everything you've done and what you've started and what you're working on, you just started it, right? Like you may not have known what to expect when you thought of joining the military or what that career was going to look like, or, diving into it with First Form, right? Like none of us really knew what to expect when, I know when I became a Legionnaire in 2015, when Cody called me, or 16, and there wasn't the app. I was taking my picture, holding up a printer. I remember the phone calls that they had to log in on. I wasn't doing anything, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I just sort of started it. And then I trusted the process. A couple years later, when Jay called me and got me going, and that's what the common theme is for most of the people that have had a journey is you can't wait for the perfect time.
Yep. And there's people sit there and they wait for like, oh, January 1st is coming. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I started June. I started mid-year.
I started in April.
And it's one of those things is just start. It's there's, like you said, no perfect time than the time now. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, beating your feet, and keep moving forward. It's kind of like rucking. It's gonna suck, but just keep moving forward, man.
Yep. Nice. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to tell me about your journey. I learned a lot. I look forward to really just more you do, man. And when we meet up next time and the more times we do in the future, it's going to be pretty cool. And just like I say all the time, I'll put your info again at the bottom of this. Do you have any last parting shots for everybody out there?
Just if you start the journey and you are going, make sure you have a good support system around you. That's key because you're going to have those doubters. You're going to have those people that sit there, oh, you can't do this. It's gonna take forever. You're just gonna. And I think what helped me is having a good support system. Like my wife, my buddy Tim, my buddy Justin, who's a first lieutenant in the military, and just having friends around me and having, two of the best coaches, Jeremy and Tim. There's someone as if I need something, I can always reach out to them and I can bounce ideas off of them. Kind of like I talked to both of them. Me and Manny are in an 8-week summer challenge. And my big thing is, I want to drop a certain amount of weight, but Jeremy came to me and then I came to my other coach and I said, we're don't fraggo that. Jeremy was like, try to drop as much body fat as you can. So I'm focusing on a little bit of weight, but I'm focusing on, let's see how much body fat we can lose in 8 weeks. It doesn't have to be how many pounds you want to lose. It could be, hey, I want to keep where I'm at. I want to keep at 250, but I want to drop body fat and I want to lean up and stuff like that. So it's a big, people think it's a complicated situation, but it's not. It's so simple that you just have to be willing to put the time, put the effort, put this, and once you see the ball rolling, and once you see the scale kind of move in the right direction, or see the pictures, because what we tell people is scale might not move, but we take pictures because we may see, hey, we look thinner in that picture. So it's one of those things of, you may not see it on the scale. Like there have been times I've stepped on the scale and I was heavier, but I looked leaner because I just got done with 3 days of cardio and my joints were inflamed. If inflammation leads to weight gain. But it's one of those things of, don't get discouraged. Keep moving forward.
Perfect. All right, y'all. You heard it. Just keep moving forward. That's all you got to do. All right, man. I'll let you get on with your day. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, I know if you listen to this, you are motivated and you're ready. And just share it with somebody else who's looking to start that journey. That's all we ask. That's why we do these. That's why we tell our stories. Is just to let people know it's possible. You just have to trust the process and go execute. All right, man. I'm going to get away from these flies, and I will catch you on the flip side.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
No problem. Have a good day.